Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all to a brand new episode of the Boombox Guru. I'm your host, LB, and on today's episode, we're going to be doing an album review on the debut studio album from Canadian metal band Spiritbox called Eternal Blue. And this album actually came out today on September 17th, 2021. I actually pre-ordered my copy as soon as they announced it, and mine came in the mail yesterday. It actually came in the mail yesterday, and they actually made an announcement on IG saying that some people may have gotten their pre-orders yesterday, some today. But a big shout out to Spiritbox and their whole team for shipping out these pre-orders in a timely manner, getting them to the fans relatively within the time frame of the album's release. Because if you didn't get it yesterday, more than likely most people got their copies today on the actual release date. So a big shout out to them. So going forward with this review, yes, like I said, this album was released today, September the 17th, 2021, on Rise Records, as well as Pale Chord Records. And Eternal Blue, it actually follows a slew of singles that the band started releasing around 2018, as well as two EPs, one being a compilation compiling a lot of those prior singles that were released. And 2020, last year, actually was a huge year for Spiritbox because they released the single Holy Roller, and that would prove to be a breakout hit for the band, and it created an enormous buzz around them, which left a lot of fans, including myself, highly anticipating a full-length album release. So the big question is, does Eternal Blue live up to all the hype surrounding it? And we're going to get into my pros, the things that I like about this record. So first point I want to make is that this album is a really good balance of the more heavier material that the band displayed on their earlier singles, as well as the more melodic direction that the band have been headed towards with their recent singles that they've released. And I'm really glad that that's the case with this album, because I was a bit concerned that the band were gonna kind of disregard and leave behind their heavier side and go for the more softer melodic approach that they've really been displaying in a lot of these singles. So I was really glad to hear that there was a really good balance between that, man. And even a lot of the more softer songs, they still have heavy parts. You know, usually during the verses, Courtney, she comes in with her beautiful, clean vocals, and the band, they display more of a laid back, more ethereal vibe. But then it gets to certain choruses and certain climax parts and songs, and they really bring it in and get heavy, even on those softer songs, man. So I was really glad that that was the case with this album, because I was concerned that they were just going to totally leave that part of their style behind. And of course, Courtney LaPlante, as I just mentioned, she's the lead vocalist. Her vocal performance is stellar, powerful vocals. She definitely hasn't lost her touch, man. She kills it throughout the whole entire album. I hold her, Tatiana of Ginger, and Megan Target of Vexed. All three of these ladies, man, they're really killing it in the vocal department, man, because they all three know how to maneuver between their clean and unclean vocals, and they do such a great job in that department, man. I mean, Courtney just kills it throughout the record, man. She's definitely one of the highlights of the record, of course. The band displays a very good consistency throughout the record. Like I said, this could tie into my first point about it being a good balance. They keep that good balance consistent throughout most of the record. From having those heavy parts then to mellowing things out a little bit and then bringing it back right up. They do a really good job in keeping that whole formula consistent throughout this whole entire record. So, what are my cons? Well, I don't know if this is necessarily a con, this point right here, but they released 5 singles from the album, and I don't know if that was necessarily a good idea, because there's only 12 tracks on the album. So releasing 5 singles, that's pretty much half the album. Half the album is singles. Holy Roller, Constance, Circle With Me, Secret Garden, and the most recent single, Hurt You, which was released a month before the album's release. Now, don't get me wrong, these singles are great songs. They're great songs, and they fit quite well within the context of the record. I mean, they flow just wonderfully, even within the album tracks. They just flow naturally within everything else. But it's just that a lot of these songs, save for Hurt You, we've kind of gotten used to them. Holy Roller is a year old now, and Constance is getting close to being a year old, because I believe Constance was released around towards the end of 2020. Circle With Me came out, I think, around spring, summer, as well as Secret Garden. Most people have gotten quite used to those songs. So that was just one thing that I noticed, that, hey, half the album is singles. But, and I might be contradicting myself a little bit here, but, listening to the album as a whole, it doesn't necessarily take too much away from it. But it's just one thing that I kind of pointed out, is that I noticed, is that, yeah, half the album is singles and there's only 12 tracks. But, it's not really a big deal. But I don't know. I don't know if 5 singles was really the best idea, but at the same time, the band really started to pick up its buzz during the pandemic, when things were shut down. Bands weren't really touring. Bands are only starting now to get out there and tour. So from a business standpoint and from a band standpoint, I understand why they did that, because they wanted to keep that momentum going, and it helped. It helped because they're out there touring now, selling out shows and so forth. So in my next point about the cons is that I wasn't too crazy about the more electronic elements that they displayed on here, specifically the song called We Live in a Strange World. Now, We Live in a Strange World isn't necessarily a bad song. It's just personally not one of my favorites. I really didn't like that beginning part of the song, the first half of the song, so to speak, where it's kind of like this sort of electro-industrial type thing. And if you're familiar with my channel, you guys know that I like industrial metal, electro-industrial type stuff. But I just wasn't feeling this particular style of it on this track. It does, things start to get to sound better once, the second half of the song, where the full band comes in. It does, but I don't think it really does anything to really save that song. I listened to the song, basically taking in the album as a whole, but it's not one of my favorites. Honestly, it probably will be a song that I will skip most of the time once I get used to the record. But as far as my cons and what I don't like about the album, that's about it. So in conclusion, I think that Internal Blue is nothing less than a consistent album. While I do think that it's an enjoyable record, I definitely will be returning to it. I mean, I've already listened to it like 6 times already today, or maybe more. I think it kind of falls short of living up to its hype. There's really nothing on the record that I feel that's necessarily groundbreaking, necessarily, man. It has enough solid material to keep its replay value, and as well as to keep the listeners tuned in, but I don't think it necessarily is a standout amongst other releases that are coming out this year, man. I think for the most part, I think it's kind of falling in the same line of a lot of the recent albums that have come out within Spiritbox's lane, because Spiritbox has been lumped into like progressive metalcore, gent, progressive metal, alternative metal. I've heard the term post-core. Whatever those terms, however you apply those terms to certain bands right now, whatever category that Spiritbox falls into, I don't think Eternal Blue is necessarily like a standout record within those categories. And as I will reiterate, while I don't think that it's really groundbreaking or a game changer, Spiritbox, they have managed to execute an already established style. They do it quite well. Like I said, I don't think they're doing anything that's like out of the box with this record, but they're executing it well. So in my opinion, I think that Eternal Blue is more of like a stepping stone to something greater for the band, in the near future. So basically, I think that this is a solid debut album for Spiritbox, but I'm really thinking that we have yet to see what this band can really do. I think that maybe the next album or two, we're gonna really see something quite unique and probably mind-blowing from the band, maybe with the next few albums. that come out later. I just think that Eternal Blue was a stepping stone, and you know, to their defense, you know, they came out during the pandemic, and also a big shout out to them because they managed to keep their momentum and their buzz going throughout this whole pandemic and everything like that. You know, if anything, they just seemed to get bigger when everything kind of shut down. You know what I'm saying? And they were, I mean, they were on countless magazines. You know, Courtney LaPlante doing countless interviews and stuff like that. So if anything, you know, their profile really went up during this whole, you know, during the whole pandemic and everything and so forth. But yeah, like I said, I don't think this album was necessarily groundbreaking. You know, excuse me, listening to it, I wasn't necessarily like, oh wow, man, this brand is so great. I thought what they were doing, I thought the music was great. I really enjoyed the music. I really thought it was good what they were doing. You know, I thought it was definitely consistent, definitely solid material, man. But yeah, it wasn't nothing that I feel was like game changing or like, oh my gosh, this band is gonna just change the whole direction of modern metal music. It was nothing to that effect, which I'm not saying that's what it had to be, but I just feel that Eternal Blue is just a solid debut album that is like gonna be the next step. It's gonna get them to where maybe the next few releases we're gonna see a lot more from this band. But so in conclusion, I don't mean to ramble on too long, but I think that this album, I think it's an enjoyable listen. I actually enjoy listening to it. I don't hate the record. I definitely think it's a great record. I enjoy it, but I think it just fell a bit short on living up to the hype, all the hype that was surrounding it, man. But that doesn't mean that you guys shouldn't check it out. I think you definitely should check it out. To each his own. You know, this is just my personal opinion. There may be somebody else out there who thinks that this is the greatest release of 2021. I've even seen a few professional reviewers and critics call this like album of the year and so forth. Me personally, I don't necessarily agree. I don't think this is an album of the year for me. But I definitely do think that it's an enjoyable listen. Like I said, even today I've gone and re-listened to the album multiple times already, and I still enjoy it. The only thing is, you know, within the multiple times that I've went back and listened to the album, I haven't really picked up on any like new things necessarily that makes me like it any more than I already do. That's about the best way that I can put it. But still, you know, Eternal Blue, I think it's a great record. So I recommend anybody to go and check out the album. Order it online. Order it directly from Spiritbox if you can. Go to your local record store that sells CDs. You know, get it there. I still think that's an enjoyable listen. So basically, I think this is going to be one of the more enjoyable metal albums of the year. But hope you guys enjoy this review. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you'll be notified when I drop content. And also leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me guys what you think. Do you agree or do you disagree with my opinion on this album? Let me know what you think. You know, I really would like to see what my viewers think about this album, because we all have different opinions. We all have our own personal preferences. But again, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video. If you want to check out some of my social media, check out the links in my description. I'm most active on IG, so definitely if you want to be in contact or whatever, hit my IG. As always, hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week, blessed weekend, and as always, love, peace, and music. Peace out.